In this video, you will learn to build your own AI shopping application with vector embeddings using React Native for the app and Supabase for the backend. Hey everyone, what's up? This is Simon from Galaxies.dev, and in today's video we will build an epic AI shopping list. I was really excited about this project, and this video is sponsored by Supabase. If you haven't checked it out, Supabase is the database I use for pretty much all my projects. It is the backend I love to use with authentication and now also with AI support. So in this video you will see how I use Supabase Edge Functions to work with Transformer.js to create vector embeddings. So yes, we're really getting into a lot of AI stuff today. We're going to generate embeddings. We're going to use a vector extension on the Postgres database. We're going to store our embeddings, and then we will also be able to use a remote procedure call on the database from the React Native app to say, hey, I have a banana. In which category does that belong? Fruit, vegetable, household? And we're going to compare the embeddings of like the banana to that of a category. And in the end, we're going to have a React Native application that automatically sorts new shopping items into the right sections of a section list. There's going to be quite a lot of code. We're going to start very slowly because we're going to focus on the Supabase and the AI setup in the beginning. Then we're going to kick up the pace a bit and bring in some authentication boilerplate code that I already used in the previous video. And then we're going to go smooth again to build the actual app with the bottom sheet and how we import all the data. So if you're ready for this, check out link below to Supabase and also to the link to the code on GitHub. Make sure to subscribe to the channel before you dive into anything else. But once you're ready, let's kick off our application. Alright, so let's get started with our shopping application. We're gonna create a new Expo application using the tabs template. So we're gonna have file-based routing, and then we're gonna install the Supabase JavaScript SDK. We're gonna need the React Native URL polyfill to make authentication work, and we will also use my good old friend, the Gorham bottom sheet. Additionally, we're going to need the Expo Secure Store for storing the token. Once we use authentication, we're going to need reanimated and the React Native gesture handler for the bottom sheet. So go ahead and run this. And while this is taking place, we can also do a few things. So we want to start a new project in Supabase. Can we zoom in? Like, will this help you? I don't know. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Let's call this one AI video. I'm going to generate a strong password and copy this and save this somewhere in my code. I'm gonna leave everything to, well, actually I'm going to use Central Frankfurt for this one. Okay, so this will create our project. That might take like a minute, and then we're gonna set up our SQL tables. While this takes place, we can quickly move back to the Expo application. So boom, it's already finished. Actually, I did this up front. And what we need to do is we need to open our Babel config and add the React Native reanimated plugin in here, because otherwise it won't work. Additionally, we can do a few things already. We can create a new .env file, and in that env file, we're gonna import the public URL to our Supabase project and also the anonymous key. So we're gonna have to figure that out from here. Oh, we got it, nice, it's already there. So let's copy over the key. That's it. Yes, you can expose that anonymous key because usually you should enable row level security and that will protect your database. And we also need the URL. There it is under project settings and API. So put this in here. Cool, this is our environment setup, so we will be able to use that stuff from our Expo application. And to do so, let's quickly do this and create a new file at config/init supabase.ts. So that will create the folder and the file. And I'm going to put in the default initialization code for React Native Supabase. So we're going to add the secure store from Expo Secure Store, and that will be used as an adapter for our authentication for the JWT. We, of course, also add the create client from Supabase, which is required to actually create our initial client. And we also add the import for the polyfill, because otherwise you will see a nasty error in your application. Good. So this is just a wrapper around secure storage to use that as an adapter where your JWT is stored. Then we grab from our process environment the keys we just added, and then we initialize Supabase with that information with a bit of settings for authentication. Good, that's pretty much everything for the setup of our Supabase connection. Now let's get back into the project, and we're gonna have to define some SQL in here. Actually, I got this prepared, so probably it's best we create a file and I go through it here. So you can find all here, SQL.SQL. Let's call this setup.SQL. You can find, of course, all of this in the GitHub repository. So we're going to try and move a bit faster, especially in the parts that follow, so we can later focus on the actual AI app. So all of this is just getting started, getting set up, and then we can build on top of that and take a closer look at what we do. But we're gonna also stop a bit here and focus on what we do, because what we need to do is, of course, we need to create our tables with SQL. So we will create a categories table and we create a products table. That means in the categories, we might have something like fruits, vegetables, household, whatever. So that's going to be the category. But there is also an embedding, and that is interesting because it's using the type vector. And to use the type vector, we have to enable the PG vector extension on our database before. So this whole statement up here is geared to enabling that. In fact, you could also just do this from the UI. So I think you could go to database extensions, and you could search for PG. Yeah, you could just search for vector and then you could enable this. So this will enable it. Now, we will also have a products table. This is just the table for our shopping list. So we're gonna have like a name, a banana, category, fruits, which references our categories. It will have a user ID of the signed in user, and either historic, false, or true. I just want to like not remove elements from the list, but mark them as historic once a user has used the banana, so we can then later show the banana again as recommendations for that user. Cool, that is the initial setup. Then we have some row level security for both of our tables. So only users can update, delete, and insert their own products. And categories should be viewable by everyone, but no other policies besides that. So I hope that will actually work in what I want to do. I kind of feel like I don't want to add this policy right now, but well, let's do this. We can still figure this out later. And then finally, we have a cool function here. So we're going to have a database function that will compare an embedding. So we haven't talked a lot about this yet. We're going to get to that in a second. It's basically like comparing how similar two products are. Like how similar are fruits and banana, or how similar is banana and household. And then we got like a similarity rating between 0 and 1. And that's pretty much what this function is calculating using our vector extension that we added, and then it will return some data. So before I forget it, let me run this. So yep, I'm going to copy this, going to put this in here and run it, and hopefully, yes, success, no rows return. That's always good. So we should see a categories table and a products table. Okay, now to get started with AI and our embeddings, we're going to use Supabase Edge Functions. This is super interesting and really fun to use. And what we're going to do is I will actually use the Supabase CLI for that. So in my project here, I will run Supabase init. So I installed the Supabase CLI already. Generate VS Code workspace settings. I don't know, I feel risky, but I'm going to say yes. As far as I know, I've seen a video from Tor from Supabase who explained this before. Basically, in the Supabase functions, they're using Deno. And if you want to use Deno in Visual Studio Code, you can install an extension, and there's a lot to it to make like TypeScript and typings or file paths working. So with this custom setup, you can actually have like different workspaces in Visual Studio Code. But this is not a tutorial on workspaces and stuff. We're going to talk about something else. Now, let me close this so you can focus really on what's going on. After creating or running that command, we got the new Supabase folder here, which has functions, git ignore, config, and some. Is this my seed SQL? No, okay, yeah, that's something we can fill in. In extensions, there's also no extension yet. But what I want to do is I want to now link my project as well. So I will call Supabase link, and I think to link, I need to call, yes, the project ref. The project ref is most likely what we added to our environment, like this little part before Supabase. So let me try out this. Enter your database password. Okay, I stored this somewhere. And then my local project is linked to my actual Supabase project. Why is this important? Well, we will create functions now. We'll actually create 2 Edge functions. And by having our project linked, we can both test them locally if we want to, and we can also directly deploy them. So we can create our first Edge function running Supabase functions new, and then the name. So I will call this category embeddings. And that should create a new folder here. Under functions, created a new, yes, there it is, with an index file. And I will also follow this up with another one, get embedding. So we're gonna have 2 Edge functions. Let's check this out. Actually, I could run Supabase start now. Oh yeah, I need to install Docker and stuff, so I will just simply deploy this in a second. So if you want to run this locally, yes, that's definitely possible. You just need to bring it up with Docker correctly. Okay, so this is an Edge function that will run on Supabase. We got some setup here, we got the serve command, and then it just serves some stuff, and I could invoke this. Do we want to give this a little test run? Actually, yes, let's do this. So Supabase functions deploy, and this will deploy both of our functions. You can inspect your whatever in the dashboard, so let's see. Here is our first Edge function. We're in the AI video. This is it. And there should be somewhere like command line access. And here is a curl. So let's try this out. Okay, and there we got it. Message hello functions. So we can confirm that our Edge function is actually deployed and working. That is good news, because then we can build on top of this. And I will bring in my code for the Edge functions now, and then we're gonna step through everything that we do in that function. So the purpose of this first category embeddings function is simply to seed my categories table. So we got the categories table here, and I want to create some seed categories for the application, like fruits, vegetables, household, basically all of these. And to get started, I want to create an embedding vector for these categories. So I'm going through use all of these and create embeddings. And how are we doing this? Well, we're using transformer.js. That should be part of my other thing here. So we have the vector columns enabled in our application to store vector embeddings. And now we're going to generate embeddings. So you can see all of this also in the Supabase docs, just in a tiny bit different setup. Now, as I said, they're using Hugging Faces and Transformer.js. And there are a bunch of things that you can do. Just check it out. There are specific Supabase models that we can use. So basically what we want to do now, this feature extraction, this first value here that we pass to this pipeline function, which we got up here from Xenova Transformer, is pretty much transforming raw data into numerical features that can be processed while preserving information. This is available on the web. It is supported. So a few other things are supported as well. You can check them out here. And the second parameter is our Supabase model, I think GTE small, right? Supabase GTE small. So this is our pipeline that we construct before actually running that function that will help us in the future when this Edge function comes up again to bring it up faster. Because I want to write to my Supabase table, I also have to call the actual Supabase JavaScript SDK in here. And I got access to the URL and the service role key right from the Dino environment. So although all of this is red, as I said, you might have to open this in a different setting with Visual Studio Code. All of this should work in theory. So when the function finally runs, I'm going to create promises. For all the categories, I'm going to create or call this generate embedding. I'm going to pass in fruits, pet care, household into our pipeline with some parameters, and then I will get back the embedding. And that embedding, so this is like the call to Hugging Faces, then I extract the data and then I pass it back into Supabase. So that is once again a call to the regular Supabase tables. I'm going to insert this in my categories table, and there will be the category and the embedding. And that's everything for the category embedding. So I'm going to deploy this. I could also just deploy one of those. And then it gets interesting, people. It really gets interesting. I'm kind of getting excited. Subtitle would be now heavy breathing. Okay, it should be deployed. Let's see, I can find these under my Edge functions under category embeddings. And this is just like to seed stuff. We could also do this with TypeScript and JavaScript locally, but I felt fancy, so I kind of thought, let's do it like this. Now, what this should do is it should pre-fill my categories table. And let's hope for the best. Please, no error. Oh, done true. Yes. Oh, yes, it worked. Okay, here we go. What you can see now is we got the categories that I've set up in my Edge function in the array. And we have an embedding for them. That is a vector of the likelihood, like different categories rated. There's a lot of AI stuff you can read about embeddings and vectors. I'm definitely not the best person to tell you about it. There are other great essays. But this now gives us the ability to build our application and to compare items against those vectors. And that is exactly what our second Edge function is made for. So I will get into get embedding. I'm to replace this. It's using a somewhat similar setup. You see, we got the generate embedding here once again, basically doing the same. But this time I'm trying to get the input so I can pass some element to it. I will generate that output, that embedding, and then I will simply return it to the client. So that's all I want to do. I will just call the whole function because I'm too lazy to select which one I want to call. And now the interesting question is, how can we use this? So how can we call that? Actually, I have no idea. Let's figure this out. Here is my Edge function. In theory, I should be able to use a regular client like Insomnia and make a new request. I want to make a get request. It doesn't actually matter, I think, if it's get or post. And there should be in the body an input. So I'm going to set my body to JSON. Input banana. Okay, I'm just going to hit send. Okay, missing authorization header. That was to be expected. So I'll probably just do it from the command line in that case, because this is actually I please don't do this in real world. I just want to do this for testing. Yeah, so now it seems to work. Oh no, we got an internal server error. That's even worse. Let's enable this again. Well, let's try to use the command line in that case. All functions are deployed, but if you get an error, actually that's a good case, because that gives me the possibility to show you the logs. So let's see what the logs tell us about the problem and if there actually is a problem. If this takes, okay, syntax unexpected end of JSON. Well, that is interesting. I don't really see an unexpected end of my, so there should just be like an input element and then it has a name. I don't know what's wrong with that. Let's try to call it from the command line. So that gives us this little curl command, and I will pass in for the data input, let's say, again, apple. Apple could actually not be fruit, could actually be something else. Okay, that is good news. This is a vector for that data. This is an embedding for Apple. And I could now take this vector and compare it to the different categories in my database. And that would tell me to which category most likely Apple belongs. So this is now really, and I can actually copy this if I want to, like this has now the right header. This is like the proof that our stuff is working. Let's add Bira token. Yeah, I made it, of course, completely the wrong way. So it should be token and Bira, and then it's a get or a post. Actually, yeah, probably it's just a post. Otherwise, it's hard, yeah, to send that data. Okay, yep, now it works here as well. So this is the data we would get back from our second Edge function in Supabase. Now, I can grab this embedding, as I said, and compare it to the different categories in my database, which means I probably should load the category data once into my application so I don't have to like constantly query this categories table. I could also like make this fixed and static in my application, but we're gonna just load this once in the beginning in our application. And whenever we then add an item to our shopping list, banana, fruit, lemon, whatever it could be, we're gonna go through the procedure of getting the embedding, comparing it to the category and sorting it into the right category and then storing it under products. But this is the baseline. This is the baseline of vector databases in Supabase and how we can use Edge Functions and how we can use Transformer.js and Hugging Faces in the Supabase model. And now we're going to move into our React Native Expo app. Okay, to bring up our app, simply run npx expo in our like top level, not in the Supabase folder, of course, that is related to Supabase, and then I press I to bring up the iOS simulator for us. As I said in the beginning, this is using Expo Router version 2, so we got file-based routing in the app folder. What I want from this setup is actually it's quite little. To be honest, I will get rid of everything. I will just start with a fresh index.tsx. Oh no, where's my snippet? React Native functional export. So that's going to be my index page. And then we also want to have a top layout.tsx. Why did I remove everything? Well, because we don't really need that stuff. We can do it ourselves. So this will be my initial layout. And within the layout, I will probably just return like a slot because we're going to have to add some authentication to our application. If I now reload this, would this already work? Yeah, up there is something. So now we got the file-based routing in place again. I want to use Supabase Authentication. So I will go into my app and check under Authentication Providers. We have email enabled. That's good. Actually, I will disable confirm email. So then we will be signed in immediately. In a previous video, I already presented how to do authentication in the React Native file upload with Supabase storage. We built this quick login screen, which you saw. So that is using Supabase authentication and file-based router. So we don't have to like reinvent the wheel, and we'll actually do the same thing that we did in here. So let me bring in the code. Again, you can check it out in the related repository or in that video. To do that, I will create a new file or a new folder called providers. And within, oh no, I didn't want to do that. I definitely didn't want to do that. Can we just go back? Yeah, that was not my smartest idea. Remove folder from workspace. Yeah, let's just not do this. I actually wanted to copy this. So I wanted to copy the provider. I just want to copy the folder. And here we got an authentication provider. Let's close all of this with the same setup like in the previous tutorial. So this will just be used as a hook as use auth, so we can quickly access the user, a session, or if we are actually initialized and we have a sign out function. And then we will simply use the Supabase on auth state change. It's pretty much like Firebase. They also have this event. And when we catch that event, we can just update our values here. And based on those values, we have down here our authentication provider context that we're going to wrap around our app. So if we're initialized and we have a user, we can then show our app, otherwise not. And to implement this behavior in our app, we can go back to my top layout file. And what we want to do in here is we're going to check this. So we have this bottom root layout where we wrap everything with the auth provider that we just created. And then we have the initial layout. This is just like our context around this. And in here, we are now using this. If we're not initialized, no access, nothing will work. And then we're going to do something cool. So we're going to use the segments here. Actually, I think we should add the segment. I think there was a comment on one of the YouTube videos I got as well, that we should also add segments to the dependencies array. So the segments are the parts of our URL because we're using file-based routing under the hood. And we're gonna have a new folder here. If you want to learn more about Expo file-based routing and what all of this means, go check out the other videos I did on those topics. There are quite a few already. Oh, why is this so slow today? So in my app folder, I might have another, what is wrong here? Oh yeah, it's TSX. That's nice. That's a nice error you can confuse yourself with. So we're gonna have another file in this app folder. And then app folder will simply be protected. So if we have our session and we're not yet in that folder, pretty much means we are on the login screen, then we will redirect to the list page because the user is already authenticated. If we don't have a session, we will simply replace this and go back to our top index file, which is becoming our sign up screen. So I will use the exact same code from the previous tutorial for this sign up screen. And then I'm gonna try and hit reload. Yep, and then we're gonna see my super list up here. So this is really just using the Supabase auth function for sign in with password or sign up with email and password. Nothing else. No other redirect is happening in here simply because we catch that stuff in the provider, so we don't need to do it in here. Only our top layout file will take care of the protection of our application. With that in place, there's just one more thing that I want to do before we get into my list page. Actually, we could do this already. So let me quickly sign up. So simon@galaxies.dev and a super secure password. I'm going to create an account. Okay, and then it tries to go inside, and actually we can't because /app, yeah, it's missing. It's not picking up that index file because we have no layout yet. So I'm going to add another layout in here, which is now going to be our like internal stack layout. In this stack layout, I will grab the sign out and session from my hook that I created myself in the provider, and I will use this for the redirect. So if we don't have a session, I'm going to redirect the user to the login screen, and also on the header right, I want to show this little sign out button. And now with a reload, boom, I should be here. I can sign out, and I should be able to now also get back. Let's try something wrong. Okay, this is invalid, and sign in, and we're good. Okay, so this is how pretty much we had the AI setup in the beginning. We had the basic Supabase authentication, integration, Expo file-based routing setup, and now we come to actually building our AI list. So this is probably the most fun part, and we're gonna take most time now for what we wanna do. So let's start with the index file. In my index file, I'm going to I'm going to present some information. We're going to have some list items. So these will be the items that I fetch from Supabase. So set state list items. Today I will just use state. I'm going to use any. You can extract the types from your tables, but I don't want to do it today. I don't want to make this too much about TypeScript. I want to extract the user, the structure this from the use auth hook. And finally, I will have a list of grocery options. So I want to like have a list of recommendations, and these are just like some initial recommendations. Later there will be the things the user used before, but for now these are my options. Now it's time to work with Supabase. So in a use effect hook, I'm going to call the database, and I'm going to try and grab some initial data from there. So let's do a function fetch data async. Oh, it feels strange to do all this by myself because usually I got Copilot. So I kind of don't know the syntax anymore because I always just press continue. Fetch data. And what I want to fetch is, I want to fetch first of all the categories from my Supabase table. I want to only select ID and categories, but I want tables, and they will be data. So we just structure it to grab data, and then we use the named categories. That's what this syntax means. It's not like data is of the type categories. So to show you some better logging, I will also bring up the JavaScript dev tools. Putting this somewhere here, I don't know. And then we're gonna hit save. And sure enough, we get our first log. So these are the categories: category fruits, fish, baking, vegetables, all the nice little categories. I want these categories because in my view, I want to display a section list where we can put in that stuff. Can we already do like the section list? I don't have data. I don't have any kind of data yet. Probably we can. It takes us a little more minute to set that up, but that part already worked. Now, I also want to load two other things from Supabase. So I want to load the product of user, and I want to use the historic and the unhistoric, like true and false. We could also probably just capture all and then filter it. Yeah, that would actually be faster, but I just want to make a bunch of Supabase calls to bring up my invoice. Yeah, you should probably not do this. So recommendation, of course, make less calls and be aware of that and improve the performance of your application. Don't do it like Simon. Just make one call and then locally filter that data. But if we have that data, we can now remove, or we can combine that data. We can combine the historic data with our grocery options. So we can use everything from historic, just using the name because I don't really need the ID in that case. Historic map. Oh yeah, this is the products. This is not the categories. And then the grocery options, and then we're gonna have a unique history by calling a set on this. This will actually eradicate all the duplicate items. So we're just gonna have one unique historic set of recommendations. If I check this out, this is only this, but once we have some recommendations in there, this list will certainly look different. And then once we got that, we can set this as our grocery options for our app. Good. We're gonna do pretty much the same thing, or actually not the same, but we need to do some data processing on our products as well. So this is now interesting. Sorry. Oh yeah, set list items. Sorry about that typo. Because for products, we need to bring this in a certain way for our section list. So if we have a section list, we have an array of elements basically. And then we have like whatever, it could be title, and then you have the array of data for that section, and you're gonna have multiple of these sections. Okay, so this is a section and this is a section, and they all have like the data in here. So we're gonna create this format for our application by mapping through the data a bit and filtering out all the products from Supabase with the right category, and then we have the category information and as data the items, and then later we can set this up here. The problem is right now grouped will be, is this grouped? Grouped. I don't think we have, why are there like 16 items in our list items? That makes me curious. That definitely makes me curious. Oh yeah, these are just the sections. Come on, I got confused myself. So the data array for all of these sections is still empty. See, array 0, array 0, array 0. And we're gonna later fill that. For now, I think we have enough information to actually display a section list because our view looks so sad. It really looks like super sad. Let's add some styling down here and the obligatory container styling. So let's add style sheet from React Native. And then we have the container styling. Gonna attach this here, styles.container. So we have a dark background. And then we're gonna see if we do have some list items. So if list items.length is greater than 0, I want to render this section list. So a section list is a pretty cool component. I kind of came to like it. I'm going to give this a bit of content container style, like padding bottom 150, because there will actually be something in the way otherwise. And close it. Most important part is sections, where we pass in our data, which is the list item, and then that's already enough. That's interesting. Don't we need like a render function? Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I definitely think we should have something. Especially we need a render section header function. So in here we can destructure this. We got this section, And then we got the category inside. Let me look at this up. Did I make a mistake? I don't think so, actually. All those brackets, it feels so horrible. Okay, and then we can render our section header. This is just going to be a text element using category, and I think this is the moment where we can finally show anything on the screen that comes from Supabase. It took us quite a while, probably like 40 minutes or so, but I hope it was worth it because we had a lot of AI stuff to do, and AI is not just front end. AI is a lot about back end, about your database, about vectors, embeddings, and understanding that stuff. So I really hope that this video inspires you to take some action and build some cool stuff. Then I think I've done a good job. Okay, there will be some styling for the section header. I want to make that section header have a bit bigger white font. So I will now use this here as the style. Styles.section header, and then we got this nice list already. Good, that's a good start. Now we just need to insert our items and we need to render the items. We probably don't have to implement the render item function yet because we don't even have items, so we will come back to that in a second. For now, we need a way to add data, to add products to our AI shopping list. And we're going to use the Gorham bottom sheet for this. And because I wanted to move this away from this view and structure our app in a good way, we're going to put this under components. So I'm going to remove everything that is under components and create a new file. I will call this bottom grocery sheet.tsx. And this sheet is important. This sheet will render bottom grocery sheet. Yeah, let's see, that's right. This sheet will get some props. It will get the grocery options. So what we constructed before here, we got like unique historic data. So we can feed this to the bottom sheet so the bottom sheet does not have to request it itself. And when an item is selected, we of course want to tell our list here about that view that a certain item which belongs to a certain category was selected. We're gonna get that category information because we make the call to get the embedding in this view here. Let's start by adding the bottom sheet in here. Why are these imports so horrible? Like, these were certainly not the type of imports like, yeah, bottom sheet from Gorham bottom sheet. Perfect, that's just perfect. This requires, I think, or to get started, at least some snap points. So we're gonna use memo for our snap points, and then we can pass the snap points here. Snap points. And what's something you need? Oh, you need something inside, right? There are no children inside of this. So let's just put a view in it, and then it would be actually happy. Could I use this bottom grocery sheet? That's the question. Could I use this already on my index page? That would be pretty cool because that would make working with it a whole lot easier. Let's give it a try. Bottom grocery sheet. And we probably don't. Oh, it directly comes up. Nice. So we can work on it. Awesome. Yeah, that was even better than expected. I really like that sheet. I have to admit it again. I really like the bottom sheet. So in that bottom sheet, I will also add a ref, just because then we are able to control this from code, and we'll pass this in here. So we got the ref. Bottom sheet ref is this, of course. Additionally, the main use case here is to have an input field in which we can capture an item. So let's add a state with an item. And then we can go on. I actually also want to style this in a bit different way. So instead of having it white, we're gonna now have this dark bottom sheet if we pass in the indicator style and the background style. Cool. Now, the first part here is going to be a search row. So in the search row, I want to we could actually display another button or thing. Actually, I think we will not do this. Let's not do this. I will just do it like this. And just please, can you, Visual Studio, it's AI in 2023 and like everything can do crazy things and you can't import style sheet because I've used it 10,000 times already. I'm sometimes like getting really mad about development. This doesn't have to be that way. Maybe I should do a new editor. No, I will not do this, Simon. Don't do this. Okay, search row. This is the row where I want to use a bottom sheet text input. Yes, I'm going to use a file from the Gorham bottom sheet. That's actually pretty cool because that takes care of this whole keyboard is in the way and keyboard is above that field stuff. So if I now press into this and use like the real keyboard, it will actually move the view up. The only thing that I don't like is probably I should... Yeah, let's do it like this. So I can now type in something, I could do banana or whatever, but I would also like to see all my recommendations below that. Now, that is a different story because for that we need another flat list. And because we're cool kids, we will actually use the bottom sheet flat list, which is part of the bottom sheet of Gorham bottom sheet as well. So, to display a flat list, we of course need some data. We need a key extractor probably. And the data for this is going to look a bit interesting. So what I want is, I basically want all the grocery options from the props. But if I have like started typing, I also want to display my item in the first place. So if item is not an empty string, it will be rendered first and then everything else follows. Additionally, what do we need as well? We need the key extractor function. So this will use that. And then I want to have the render item function, which is probably the most important. And therefore I'm going to add a new const render recommendation row list render item. Yeah, actually I don't have that right now. Okay, so this is going to be no, otherwise item, and then let's just for now return, and by the way, this should really be render. This should return, let's just return like a text element, and then I'm going to render the item. Unexpected token, yeah, there I have many unexpected tokens here in my case. I think I need to close this here and here. Then we have our render recommendation row, which goes in here. Why are the props still red? Oh yeah, we should use the props like this. And now the index turns red because we're not passing in the props. That's actually a good point, a valid point. So what this requires is the grocery options. So these are the grocery options we define. And then we have a function. So on item selected, we should call something and we will get back an item and a category. So we probably need a new function that we're gonna call on item add. So let's log something else, item added. That's going to be the name. And voila. Hey, what is this? Did you know? Okay. And then we can pass this here. So on item added, item category. Okay, that looks good to me. Yep. So let's see. We can bring up this list and I see in very dark there should be a list of our recommendations. So if I would turn my text, my styling here to like color white, then yes, these are the recommendations. Also, if I now click on anything here, okay, yeah, we don't call that yet. So that would be the next part to pass this back to our page. But that is a good part. We have the bottom sheet, and we have the bottom sheet especially connected to our view. So now we can actually render the rows and then do our AI fun. All right, so now we can like come full circle back to what we did in the beginning, where we created the edge functions to get an embedding for something. And that is what we want to call right now, right from our render recommendation row. So I will add a function const, let's call this on add item. And this one will be an async function. It will get some kind of grocery, any, and then we're gonna make some call. Additionally, I don't just want to render a text element anymore, so let's exchange this. I will actually render a touchable opacity instead, touchable opacity from React Native, and within that I will render a text element, so completely different setup, of course. For the styling here, I will use white again, and for our touchable opacity, I will actually use a row layout. So I will use for the grocery row, flex direction row and a different background color. And I will attach this now to my touchable opacity here. So styles.grocery row. And within we still have the item. So now everything looks like this. Not too bad, not too bad, but I actually want to have the banana expand and then have an icon at the end. So I want to have the icons here. Name will be add circle outline. Size, let's use 24, and color should be white as well. Okay, so now we got it like this. If I now say flex 1 to my text element, the text will take up most of the space here. And I should also use font size, something bigger. Font size of 20. Yeah, that looks good. So now when I click on one of these, I want to call my onAdd item. So on press, I want to call onAdd item with the current item. Actually, that's totally unnecessary. I just noticed we can just have onAdd item and use the item. No need to call like the grocery or something. So now I should be able to lock like the item in here. Let me bring up my debugger. Or actually, if I just click on this, yeah, we see the lock banana, oats, milk. Yeah, that definitely works. Okay, so what we want to do now is I want to make a call to my get embedding. So remember, that's where we actually came from, and that's what we wanted to do. The edge functions here, so I want to get an embedding. Is that like a call? No, this is the invocations. This is this command line access. I don't really need command line access. Yeah, okay, let's do it manually. No problem. So what we want to do is we can extract or get the data by using await and then doing this directly through Supabase. So we can use Supabase functions and call invoke to call one of our edge functions. Name was get embedding, and what we want to pass in was the data that we have to pass in as body. Oh, don't mess this up, Simon. Body should be input, and then we pass the item. So that is the banana we pass. Let's see. If I now put a lock below this, so I click banana, and later, yes, I get this embedding back. And now things are getting even more interesting, because now we need to call the stored procedure that we created on Supabase in the beginning. Remember, on the database, we have the, where is it? Tables, triggers, functions, should be functions. Yeah, match category. That's the function that we want to call. And we can do this almost the same way like we did here. So we get back data. I will call this documents actually. And when we do this now, not with Supabase functions, but we call supabase.rpc remote procedure call. And the name was match category, I think. Let's quickly look this up in my setup SQL. Replace or create function. Yeah, that was it. Okay, so going back here, what we need to pass in here are a few parameters. So let me bring them in. They could look like this. First of all, I'm using the embedding from the data. So we see here on an item, I get back this data. And then I have the embedding. Why is my screen brush tool not working anymore? Oh, it's working again. Okay, so I'm extracting this embeddings vector and I'm passing that now right as the query embedding to the remote procedure. We have a match threshold, so only items above 0.8 similarity will be returned. And I also add a match count of 1. I could have more, but I just want to get back one category that matches best for this document. So best match, and this is now like the critical piece here. should be documents at index 0. Let's see. Actually, I will put, we don't have that log anymore. That's good. So let's see. If I click on Apple, we see Apple, it's getting the embedding, it's sending that embedding to the remote procedure, and the best match is the category fruits. That is good news. Let's see. If I select milk, the best match, the best category is dairy with a great match. Oh, I love it. It works. It just works. Now, what is not working is this. Oh, actually, it does. So let's say I want to add a steak. I click steak, and the best match is category meat. Oh, it just works. I love AI. Sometimes I really love AI. So we got that best match here under documents 0. And now we just need to pass that back to our parent page, which will then put it into the actual list. We could also do this in here, but I kind of felt like this component should just do this one thing. So props on item selected will get back the item that we selected, and the category ID should be documents at index 0.id, because check it out, category fruits, ID 197, whatever. Similarity, we're not really interested. I mean, we could use it, but not really. Like, why should we? Okay, then I will also call set item and set this back to an empty string. And what I want to do at this point is I want to close my bottom sheet. So I want to call bottom sheet ref current.collapse. So that will collapse our bottom sheet to the bottom. What this does as well is it means we arrive in our list here again under add item, and we should get back to item edit. So let's see. Steak gets a best match and item edit steak. Okay, good. That also means I should have the category ID here. Let's put a poor man's logging in place. And let's see. I want to get like a lemon. If I want a lemon, this would item edit lemon item category 1. Okay, so at this point we only need to insert that item in my Supabase table, and then it should automatically appear at the right position in my flat. Actually not, we should really like match it to the right category. But let's do the first thing. Let's first add it to Supabase, because that's important. Right now there should be no data in my product table. Yep, that's completely blank. So let's do a call here. I'm going to await Supabase dot, and that's like the default stuff from categories. I want to insert some data, and what I want to insert looks like this. I want to insert name, I want to insert the category ID, and I want to insert my user ID, because then it shows up. I also want to select this result immediately, because when I select this, I can also get this straight into my local array. So I can now try and figure out under which category this new item falls by going through all the list items and comparing those categories. So that will give me that category. If I get a category, and I definitely should get a category back at that point, I'm going to push the data here. So category.data push result data at the index 0, because we should only get back actually one item. I will also put a log in here just for our reference result.data. And then I just need to add all the items again to my list items. Okay, let's give this a try. I'm opening up this one again. I'm adding a banana. This should most likely close it. Add it to my Supabase list. And if not, we made a mistake along the way. Okay, yeah, that's good. Good news. Item added, banana, item category ID. Oh, it looks like we have no data here after that call. What is this? That's why I have an idea. Well, it's just a random idea. Okay, let's try an apple. Column name of relation categories does not exist. Yeah, this should be products. The good old logging never fails. So let's try again to add an apple now. And we have no render item. That's good. Oh yeah, oh, that's good. because that means we have reached the point where we actually need to implement the function for the section list. Good, very good. So let's do this. Let's add a function to render our grocery row here. I'm going to update this, and then I can pass this render grocery row in here for the render item of the section list. Okay, now it finally makes sense. Type item, yeah, we need to return something in here, of course. I will just return the view for now, which will actually become a touchable opacity as well, since we need to remove items. Again, touchable opacity from this. And then I will just add a text element in here saying item.name. That should be the name of the product. That should actually be enough for the moment. Okay, progress. See here, there's a very small apple. Can you see that apple? Let's add more styling. I'm adding some styling down here for the grocery row, which is pretty much the same like we had before, and for the grocery name. So let's apply this to the grocery row here. So styles.grocery row, and then we have for the text styles.grocery name. And now this makes a whole lot more sense. So it's not immediately, but it works. It works. I can add stuff to my list. I should probably show like a loading. Is X baking? Yeah, well, it should be. Just like flour should be baking as well. Yes. What is else baking? Like baking powder? Yeah, of course. What about a lemon? What if I add a lemon? Lemon shows up under fruits. What if I have tomatoes? Tomatoes should up. Yeah. It just works. It just works. I'm so amazed. So here is my data in Supabase. We have all these items. They belong to a certain category. There's our reference here. They have a user ID, so I only get back my own stuff, and the historic for all of them is set to false, which means they don't appear here. In here, we only have the list of like initial rendered categories. Now, the final missing piece is to click on them. So when we go shopping, we want to select them and like remove them. So on select, we want to do something. Async function. And we can directly add this to our touchable opacity. On press, we're gonna call my on select. Probably I want to use a bit different background color. I just noticed that they have the same color. So I'm going to make this an array here and then override the background. So now we have like a little bit of difference between those two lists. That looks better. Also, I'm going to add a little icon here. Just looks nice and ionic. Oops. Okay, so now I should be fine. So when I click on them, what I want to do is I want to update that row in Supabase. So I'll call await Supabase from products. And I want to update the historic field. Historic, and set this to true. And I need to match a specific row. So I'm going to use equal. I want ID to be equal to grocery, or actually that should be item.id. So it's just this item. Okay, once we did this, we also need to locally remove this, because in this case we are not using Supabase real time. You could probably use that. Would be a nice case actually, but we can just locally filter out our data. So based on the item category, that's pretty much the same like we already did before. So now when I filter this out, let's try it with, what's the first thing? Apple here. So watch this historic field. If I click on Apple, it disappears here. And if I refresh, that setting should be updated as well, but it's not. So we once again made a little mistake, but that's not a problem. We can figure that out. So update the item. At least it was removed locally, but I think we made an Little mistake. Oh, we have item twice in here. That is not good. That is not good. So I'm going to change this to grocery because I previously named this grocery. So let's call, oops, update this, update that, and then we just use grocery. So, oh no, then you're, okay, advanced TypeScript Simon version. Let's see. So if I now remove something, I want to remove my apple. I want to update this item. Yes, I want to update the item with the ID 1 and set historic to true. So now I feel like historic should be updated for the apple. If it's not, then, ooh, it's not. Ooh, Supabase, what are you doing to me? Alright, so I finally figured this out. The problem was that I had not defined an update policy. So I now added the policy for users to actually update their product data. Now, with that in place, everything should make sense again. So let's bring up this preview. Everything is false, and I want to cross out the lemon. And sure enough, the lemon turns to true. Let's do something else. Milk is in the top spot, so let's cross out milk. It's removed from the list, and milk should come true as well. Actually, lemon and milk are now both true. Now, the interesting thing is, let's do a little refresh of the app. So the next time the user is using that application, still getting the list of all the stuff on that list. But if I cross out these other things, they will be added to my historic items. So they are now marked as historic true, which means they don't appear on the list. But if I go into this sheet, we see we have lemon here, we have milk, we have flour, tomatoes. So everything that was once added to my list will now be available again to quickly add this. Because we all know we kind of purchase the same things. Our shopping list usually looks the same. And the items you used before usually appear in there again. So it doesn't really make sense to completely remove them. And with that in place, there are a few things that could be improved. As you see, if I select them now, they are added again. So we probably have to filter them out so they don't appear twice, or they're not added again if an item with the same name for that user already exists. But we already had quite long code that was quite challenging to some degree. Just like I said before, you can find the whole code below in the GitHub repository. And I hope you use this as a starting point to build your own AI shopping app. Alright, and that's it for today's app. I highly enjoyed working on this video, and I hope you get some ideas for your own AI project. Because yeah, there are some things that could be improved. You've seen the loading times, but definitely we can build on that. And I hope this gave you just the spark to work with AI, as you've seen how easy it is to come up with edge functions, how we can serve them, how we can deploy them, how we can connect the Supabase locally with the Supabase instance and integrate everything in our React Native application. Because yes, Supabase works great with React Native. There's not a whole lot of content out there on it yet, but in 1, 2, 3 years there will be a lot more tutorials and videos on this whole topic. But I hope this is enough for you. Let me know if you've been able to build something cool with Supabase AI. Let me know below here in the comments, and definitely subscribe for more videos. And of course, check out the sponsor of today's video, which was Supabase. I hope you all have a great week with AI stuff and code and Supabase, and I will catch you in the next video like always. So until then, happy coding, Simon.